Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, we're going to continue on with our Windows Lab series of videos, but what exactly are we going to do? So first off, let me apologize for not having this video out sooner, but man, work has been crazy. It's a good thing though, because it means I'm still gainfully employed. So anyway, today what we're going to do, we're going to continue on with the Windows Lab series of videos. I find that you guys really enjoy those videos, so I've got more videos planned in that series. But today, we're going to create a second domain controller for our Windows HomeLab.local domain. When you're running a domain controller, if you want to have the ability for failover, you would want to have a secondary domain controller. A domain controller in a Windows network provides all of the login information. It contains a database of the users, the shared devices on the network, group policies, that kind of thing. So it's a very good idea to have a secondary unit that can fail over in case the primary unit fails, goes down, or needs to have some maintenance done on it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it on, I've got DC01 on one Windows server, 2019 Hyper-V server, and we're going to put domain controller 2 on another Hyper-V server so that we will actually have some redundancy. So I'm going to show you in this video how we do that. So we are over on our Dell R620 here. So we're going to create a secondary domain controller for the lab. Our primary lab server is a Dell R720, so to kind of help simulate that kind of lab environment where you have two physically separate machines. And that's the whole idea for a domain controller for failover. You want to have it on separate hardware just in case your primary domain controller fails, because that'll basically mean your entire network is down. You won't be able to authenticate. Computers that are already authenticated will stay on for a few hours, but then eventually they will disconnect. So anyway, I've been experimenting with SAS drives on here. So I've got several different drives. My C drive is my SSD drive. My D drive is a standalone 600 gig SAS drive that I'm testing. Then I have my iSCSI connection. What I need to do is I've exported some images over onto my Synology DS1621. They're in the exports folder, and one of those is Server 2019 Trial Sysprepped. The problem with Windows Hyper-V is if I go to import this file from the export folder on the server, because the Synology NAS cannot get system permissions, in other words, being a physical system, this Hyper-V server will not read from that. So there's one additional step I need to do, and that's to copy this export into a physical hard drive on this server, and I've done that into the exports folder. So now we should be able to go out and create a Windows 2019 server under Hyper-V. So I'm going to create I'm actually just going to import the virtual machine because I've already got one created. Click on Next. I'm going to browse to that exports folder. And there, I'm going to click on Server 2019 Trial Sysprepped. I'm going to select the folder. Next. You see when it was created was 5/14. Click on Next. I'm going to copy the virtual machine and create a new unique ID. And I'm just going to accept the defaults. I'm not going to change any of it. Now it's probably going to tell us that our network controller needs to be reselected. There we go. So we'll give it 10 gig vert network connection. Click on Next, and then the wizard will then show us what's going to happen, a summary of what's going to happen. If you find that acceptable, click on the Finish button, and it will then go out and copy the file over. So there it is, Server 2019 Trial Sysprepped. A couple of things we need to do. One is we need to change the name of it. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Settings. And then we're going to change this name to DC02. And in the description, we'll call it domain controller 02 for home lab. Click on apply. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the name. So I'm going to browse to where this is, and it's really simple. It takes you right to the image. You just right click and choose rename. Sorry, you right click and choose rename, and we're going to just type in DC02. And then we'll double click on it, and so it changes that in the virtual machine name as well. Then let's double check everything. We have 4 virtual CPUs, 4 gig of RAM is fine. Firmware, we're going to boot from a file, that's fine. The boot manager EFI, firmware EFI, so that's normal. Got our network connector in here, no DVD-ROM. We should be able to apply and OK. And then let's right click and choose connect and click on the start button, and it should run through its initial out-of-box experience. Hopefully we'll get lucky. It's nice to see equipment being put to work instead of sitting there with nothing to do all day. Not that I leave these machines turned on, because they draw anywhere from about 150 to 200 watts as they're running, and so it's not a good idea to leave them running if they're not doing anything or just consuming electricity. But it is fun to have them all up and running and see the lights blinking, over in the server closet. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Control-Alt-Delete in the upper left here so I can log back in. Now I haven't joined the domain. I haven't done anything other than to set up the virtual machine. And what I'm going to do is log in and then go out and do all the updates, because I'm sure this is back from May, right? January, February, March, April, May. There's all my software. Yay! That's one of the nice things about creating an image, is you can put all this ancillary software into your image, and you don't have to reload it every time. So I'm just going to tell it yes on the network. All right, so for point of reference, this is the Dell R720 server. It is running Windows Server 2022, and we've got Hyper-V under there. And under Hyper-V, we have our domain controller for the homelab.local network up and running. Hopefully you saw that video. If not, go back and look it up and watch it before you watch this one. And then we have a Windows 11 virtual machine running on here. These are machines I've moved around between servers. All right, so point of reference, this is the Dell R620 server. This is the sister or brother server to the Dell R720. And on this server, we're running Windows Server 2019. And I've got Hyper-V running. And I have a machine that's actually running Windows Server 2019. And we're going to set that up as our secondary domain controller. So this is that machine right here. Right now it's just set up as a Windows Server 2019 machine. So the first thing I want to do is come here under Server Manager. We're going to give it a different name. So I'm going to click on Change, and we're going to call this DC02. And click on OK. Now there's some other things I need to do. One, I need to give this, I need to make this, I'm going to go ahead and restart it. While it's restarting, I'm going to talk. I need to make it part of the 20 subdomain or VLAN. We have a 192.168.20 subnet set up for the home lab, but it is on a VLAN and it's also in VLAN 20. So we'll need to change that setting, but I'm going to go ahead and just rename, and then I'm going to log on, and then we'll shut it down and add it to the VLAN. All right. Now it's going to warn me here my password's probably going to expire because I imported this virtual machine quite a while ago. Maybe not. Okay, good. Maybe not. So I've renamed the machine now. So let's go ahead and shut it down. And then we're going to add it to VLAN 20. So we'll go ahead and do a shutdown. And then we come up to File and Settings. And it's got 4 virtual CPUs already. So we'll come to the network adapter. And we want to enable virtual LAN identification. And it's VLAN 20. And apply. And we'll go ahead and start it. Now, DC01, I believe, is at 20.1. And I like to, we'll just put this at 20.2. I think that's what we're going to do. We'll see what's available. Let's go ahead and log back in. And it sees the home lab, and we'll make it we'll allow it to be discoverable. Now what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to right click on the start menu and type in CMD. I could just go out to PowerShell and do this. So we'll right click and we'll go to PowerShell as admin. So we'll ping 192.168.20.2, and it is available. So there's nothing out there with that IP address, because that's what we're going to, that is the IP address we're going to assign to this second domain controller. So we'll go ahead and do this through Server Manager. It just makes things a little bit easier. So let me bring Server Manager up. And let's go to local server. And then we'll come to our network card here. Here we go. And we'll go to properties. And then we'll come here. 192. Oh, I got a 192.168.20.2. Our subnet mask, and then 192.168.20.254 is our gateway. And right now our DNS server is 20.1. So we'll put that in here. And we'll tell it OK. And then OK. Close that, go ahead and refresh. And we should see it now has a 20.2 IPv6 enabled. I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and open a web browser and see if we can just browse the internet real quick. Yep, and it looks like we can. Now, the additional thing I'm going to do is go ahead and reboot this server. And then once we restart, we'll go ahead and we'll make it a domain controller. Alright, so we'll go ahead and log on now. With our super secret password. So it's always a good idea if you're going to have a domain network is to have have 2 domain controllers. One is your primary and the other one is your backup domain controller. So that's why we're doing this. So we have some redundancy. It also gives you redundant DNS server. So we're going to set that up as well. So we're going to click on Start and we're going to go into Server Manager. And there's our little warning about our password. We're going to ignore that for now. Come here to Local Server. And then we should see our IP address is 20.2 now. We should see our computer name is DC02. We haven't joined any networks or anything, so we're going to come up here to Manage, Add Roles or Features. Click on Next. It's going to be a role or feature-based installation. It's very important you make sure this IP address is correct and that it's not like a 169 DHCP address. So I have verified that is correct. Click on Next. And we're going to do Active Directory Domain Services. And we're going to add those features. And we're going to click the little check mark to include management tools. Click on Next. Click on Next again. Skip the Azure. Don't need any of that. And click on Install. So what's going to happen now is it's going to install the components it needs for Active Directory. And that'll take a couple of minutes. So that part of the installation is complete. So we can go ahead and close it. And if you notice now, we have a little exclamation point up here on our notification. So if we click on that, you'll see we now have the option to promote this server to a domain controller. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to add a domain controller to an existing domain. So we'll type in homelab. Let's see, homelab.local. Select. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Well, it should be homelab. No. Sorry, it should be homelab /Adama. And our super secret password. Okay, so we're going to add a new domain controller to an existing domain. It's going to be homelab.local. We've entered the credentials. Click on Next. It is going to be a DNS server and a global catalog server. And we need to type in a recovery password in case we foobar our Active Directory. So I'm going to go ahead and give it that password. And we'll click on Next. Okay, a DNS delegation for the server. You can ignore that. Just click on Next. All right. Specify any additional install for media options. We're not going to choose that. We're going to replicate from DC01. That's the domain controller that's already out there on HomeLab. Click on Next. We'll select our location for our Active Directory database, log files, and sysvolume folder. Click on Next. If you wanted to, you could save this as a script. You could view it as a script and save it. And then if you're into scripting, you could just, program this for whatever server you want to do in the future. We're not going to use that feature. We're just going to click on Next. And as long as you get a green light up here, green check mark up here, you're good. These are all, you can read them, study up on them, but I'm not going to go into detail about what they are right now. I'm going to click on Install, and it's found those two little weaknesses, and it's waiting for DNS. So we're going to let this run. So before it restarts on its own, I just want you to see the screen that you're going to get. It's going to warn us. It does say in the background the server was successfully set up as a domain controller on that domain. So now the virtual machine is going to reboot. And then when it comes up, we should be able to log in. And then we have some ancillary stuff we want to finish up for configuring the server to be a domain controller. And of course, the first time we log in, we're now going to be a domain member. So it's going to have to set up our desktop and that kind of thing. There we go. Now you got a little bit something, a little bit more to look at while I'm doing stuff in the background. Okay, so this time we're going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to log in as Adama. So we'll do Adama. And the super secret password. Keys to the kingdom. And then hopefully, if we've done our job right, we'll see it's now a member of homelab.local. It is a Windows Active Directory domain controller. It's got our time zone correct. It's got, let's see, our time zone's correct. We've done our updates. We did those earlier. And let's just go out and verify that everything is copacetic. Yep, 20.2. Now what we need to change is here under Ethernet. So I could have left us there. So let's go into the TCP IP. Now here's what we want to do. We want to change this IP address of our preferred DNS server to ourself. So that's going to be 20.2. But the alternate DNS server is going to be on the, pardon me, my numlock wasn't on correctly, is going to be on the other domain controller. So we'll point it there. And then we're going to do the same thing with DC01. So let's go over there. All right, so we're over on DC01, which is domain controller 1, and which is on the Dell R720. So same thing on this. What I want to do is change the IP address of the DNS servers. So I'm going to do it a little differently. I just right-click down there in the network icon and then come into change adapter options. And then I go to properties and TCP IP4. So the first IP for DNS I put in here is the IP of this machine, 20.1, and the alternate is 20.2. And then click on OK and save the settings. The other thing I did was I went under DNS, under DC01, and right-clicked and went to Properties. And I made sure on my Forwarders tab that I had a couple of servers in here that are outside of the homelab.local domain so that they can resolve DNS, because the domain name servers within homelab local are going to be authoritative. That means they're going to be answering the DNS queries of all the machines on the network, or at least that's how we have it configured. It's the way I prefer to run it. It just gives you a whole lot more flexibility. For example, if you had a Pi-hole DNS server that you really wanted to use as your forwarder, or as the as your edge DNS server, you could put that IP address in here, and it would then force all your workstations on your network to use Pi-hole as a forwarder for anything it didn't know how to resolve on its own. So you can see where it comes in handy having your own internal DNS setup, and it's a requirement of Active Directory. You've got to have it. Now we've got this domain controller configured for the correct DNS server as well as domain controller 2. Alright, so back on domain controller 2. So if we go over to Tools now, and we go Active Directory Users and Computers, we should now be able to see everything under homelab.local. We'll see our computers here. We'll see our domain controllers. We should now see domain controller 2, DC02, as an additional domain controller. And then here's our information here if we right click and go to properties. Oh, the other thing we want to be able to do is look up group policy editor. So let's go to group policy management and let's see if it's picking up our group policies. There we go, group policy object. I'll do a new one and we'll call it test DC02. Just call it that, leave it there. And then we'll come back over to the Dell R720, come over to DC01, and we should be able to see, yep, test DC02. So Active Directory is doing what it should be doing. The replication tasks are, and that is it's replicating everything on here. Now there is one additional thing we'll want to do on DC01, and that is go under DHCP and let it know that we have a new DNS server that can be added in there. So we'll expand all these and go to the scope and go to scope options, and here where it says domain name, we'll make sure that's set, but we'll go under DNS servers. I'm going to remove this since 8.8, since we have that in there as a forwarder, and I'm going to add 192.168.20.2, add that as another domain name server. So now that will force any client that's connected up here via DHCP to use those two servers. And then for anything either of these servers can't translate, it'll then send it on to the forwarders, which are outside of our domain. So one little extra step to make our home lab changes complete for our new DHCP, or for our new domain controller and DNS server. Now, the next thing I would like to do is get this virtual machine 2 that's running Windows 11 joined to our homelab.local domain. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I want to do is come under File and Settings and make sure it's set up for the correct VLAN. And it's not, because none of this is going to work if we don't have it set up for the proper VLAN, which is VLAN 20. We'll go ahead and apply that. Now we'll go ahead and power the unit on, and then we'll verify that it's getting an IP address on the 20 subnet, and then we'll try to join it to the domain. And these Windows 11 virtual machines are beta, the Windows 11 beta version, and they are being kept up to date. There are updates coming out for these things every day or two, so I have been keeping them updated, and I'm quite impressed with the boot performance. I guess is basically the only thing I have to, the boot interface and the Explorer interface and that kind of thing. So I want to right click on Start, and I'm going to go to Windows Terminal first. We're going to go old school. You all like the command prompt, so we're going to go out to the command prompt on a brand new operating system and type in ipconfig/all, and we're going to see if we're getting, yes we are. You can see our suffix search list on DNS is homelab.local. We've got an IP address of 20.27. 20.254 is our gateway, and 20.1 and 20.2 are our DNS servers. So you see that now that the changes we have made within domain controller on DHCP server have now taken effect, and it's handing out these IP addresses for the DNS servers. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to join this to the domain. So I'm going to try let's see, computer management. I'm going to right click and go to settings. Usually what I do is just open the File Explorer, go to this computer, this PC, right click and go to properties. It's usually what I do. And then from within there I can join it to a domain. Cool. There's rename, but I think I want to go to domain or work group. So go there, click on change, and we'll try to join homelab.local. Click on OK. Should prompt us for the administrator, username, and password. And if you're a good administrator, you're not using admin or administrator. You've disabled those accounts, and you've... Okay, so you notice how that window popped under, and I had to go down there and click on it. Otherwise, I would have never known it had worked. So it says welcome. Tell it OK, and then it's going to want to reboot after we close this window. So we'll let it go ahead and reboot. And keep in mind, my servers are set to use shared iSCSI storage as the virtual hard drives, and for the virtual machine location files, which is on the Synology flash station, the FS1018, which means it's using all flash storage to store these virtual machines, and then it's able to share them over iSCSI. So a lot of people ask, why, how do you get the machines to be so speedy? And that's how I do it. Now, keep in mind, the first time you reboot and you've joined a computer to a domain, it doesn't matter whether it's Windows 7 or Windows 10 or Windows 8. It takes a little bit of time. It's got to rejigger the interface, and then it's going to, of course, have to create a new desktop for whoever logs in, unless it's the original user account you set up the machine with. Okay, so it's up. So let's go in. We're going to do other user, even though Adamo is already up there, because I want to make sure it signs into the home lab domain. And according to this, it's going to. It looks like we're booted up, and we're up to the Windows 10 Start menu. So if I right-click on the network and internet settings, I can go to properties. It still says private network. It should say domain network. So we're connected at 10 gig. We've got an IP address of 20.27, and you can see our DNS servers are 20.1 and 20.2, both unencrypted. But now that we have Windows Server 2022 off, to see if Windows Server 2022 offers encrypted DNS, because that is the thing now, is encrypted DNS. And if I might say so, it's about time. Okay, so yeah, it looks like everything is good. This Windows 11 unit is now part of that domain. So there you go. So what I showed you was taking it from months ago. We made a Windows Server 2019 image. We imported that image, then we let sysprep run on it. Then we added the Active Directory portion of it and joined the domain and added it as a secondary domain controller. And you also saw that part of that requirement is to set up a second DNS server. So because Active Directory depends highly upon DNS, so if you don't have that in there, it's not going to work. I should practice my own or Microsoft's best practices and have a secondary domain controller. So I think what I'll do is probably put one on the Synology NAS as a virtual machine, just to have it for sake of argument. That way, if I need to bring down my primary domain controller, I can do that while I'm working on the primary. The secondary would kick in automatically, and I would have DNS and everything else. So there you go. As you saw, it was not a very complicated process, and part of my whole idea behind these Windows Lab series of videos is to show you the potential for Windows servers, how powerful they are. So there you go, folks. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video, and leave your comments down in the comments section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Please come back and see us again. We've enjoyed having you all here. And don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.